History is not a river. It is a storm of moments, a chaos of decisions and accidents, any one of which, turning slightly, could have rerouted destiny. We live in the world that is defined by the great catastrophes and triumphs of the 20th century. We are the children of the Great War, the Cold War, and the nuclear shadow. Our reality was forged in the trenches of the Somme and baptized in the fires of Hiroshima. But it all hinged on a single day, a single wrong turn. June 28, 1914. The city of Sarajevo. The air is thick, not just with the summer heat, but with the suffocating tension of empires. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, a sprawling, decadent giant, controls Bosnia, much to the fury of neighboring Serbia and its nationalist secret societies. Europe itself is a powder keg. A web of alliances, secret treaties, and profound mistrust has divided the continent into two armed camps. The Triple Entente of Britain, France, and Russia facing the central powers of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. A single spark is all that is needed. Into this combustible city drives the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand. He is not a popular man. His own emperor, the ancient Franz Joseph, mistrusts him. The Hungarian nobility despises him for his plan to grant rights to the Slavic minorities, and the Serbian nationalists see him as the ultimate symbol of their oppression. He is a reformer in an age that demands revolution. He is also a man who believes correctly that a war with Russia would mean the end of his empire. He is, ironically, one of the few true forces for peace in the Austrian High Command. The day is already stained with failure. Earlier, a nationalist conspirator, Nedeljko Čabrinović, hurled a bomb at the Archduke's motorcade. It bounced off the convertible's folded roof and exploded beneath the following car, wounding several officers. The Archduke and his wife Sophie are unharmed but furious. Arriving at the town hall, Franz Ferdinand is shaken. "I come here as your guest," he snaps at the mayor, "and I am greeted with bombs." The official schedule is abandoned. A decision is made. They will visit the wounded officers at the hospital. But in the chaos, a fatal error occurs. The driver of the Archduke's car, Leopold Loika, is not informed of the change of route. He makes the scheduled turn onto Franz Joseph Street. The governor, Oskar Podgoric, shouts, "What is this? This is the wrong way. We are supposed to go straight." Loika slams the brakes. The gears of the heavy Graf and stiffed automobile grind as he attempts to reverse. The car stalls. It stops, immobile, on the corner, not 5 feet from a small cafe. And standing in that exact spot, having given up all hope after the failed bombing, is the 19-year-old Gavrilo Princip. He cannot believe his eyes. Fate, or perhaps simple blind chance, has delivered the target directly to him. He steps forward. He raises his FN Model 1910 pistol. He fires twice. The first shot hits Sophie. The second hits the Archduke. In our timeline, those two bullets were the spark. They ignited the July crisis. Austria-Hungary issued an ultimatum. Serbia refused. Russia mobilized. Germany declared war. France was drawn in. Britain joined. The powder keg exploded. The world we know was born. But what if? What if, in that moment of confusion, the driver, Loika, had not stalled the car? What if his reaction had been a fraction of a second faster? Let us rewind the clock. The car turns. The governor shouts. Loika slams the brakes. But this time, his foot does not slip. He engages the reverse gear successfully. The car lurches backward, away from the curb, just as Gavrilo Princip lunges from the crowd, his pistol raised. The car is already moving. Princip fires wildly, his aim destroyed by the sudden motion. The first bullet shatters the car's windscreen, missing the occupants. The second flies wide, embedding itself in a storefront. Before he can fire a third time, the crowd and the police, already on high alert from the morning's bomb, are upon him. He is tackled, beaten, and arrested. The Archduke and his Duchess are showered in glass, terrified, but completely, miraculously, unharmed. The motorcade speeds away, this time taking the correct route to the hospital, and then immediately to the train station. By nightfall, Franz Ferdinand and Sophie are back in Vienna, the survivors of 2 separate assassination attempts in a single day. The first domino of our reality has refused to fall. the immediate reaction across Europe is not war, but a strange, nervous relief. The crisis, however, is far from over. In Vienna, the war party, led by the Chief of Staff, Konrad von Hötzendorf, is apoplectic. They argue that the attempt itself is the casus belli. They demand the invasion of Serbia. Germany's Kaiser Wilhelm II, rattled by the near miss of his friend, issues the infamous blank check, promising unconditional German support for any Austrian action. But in our timeline, the blank check was cashed by an empire in mourning, fueled by the righteous fury of regicide. In this timeline, the check is handed to an emperor whose heir is standing right next to him, alive and well, Franz Ferdinand. His political position now immensely strengthened by his survival, seen by some as a sign of divine providence, becomes the loudest voice against the war he had always feared. A war with Russia, he argues forcefully to the aging Franz Joseph, will be our mutual suicide. We have survived. Let us use this miracle to show strength, not reckless abandon. Austro-Hungary still issues an ultimatum to Serbia, demanding the suppression of nationalist groups and the arrest of all involved. In our world, Serbia accepted 9 of the 10 points. In this world, without the world's sympathy for Austria, and with Russia's saber rattling more confidently in the background, Serbia's response is even more defiant. The July crisis of 1914 becomes the great diplomatic standoff of the 20th century. The armies mobilize. The stock markets panic. The willy-nilly telegrams fly between the cousins, the Kaiser of Germany and the Tsar of Russia. But without the moral imperative of avenging a murdered archduke, the political will for a total war is absent. The German General Staff, seeing Austria hesitate, advises the Kaiser that they cannot justify a preemptive strike against France. The British, seeing a path for diplomacy, propose a 6-power conference in London to mediate the dispute. In late August 1914, the Treaty of London is signed. It is a messy, unsatisfying compromise. Austria-Hungary wins major concessions, including the right to have investigators oversee the dismantling of the Black Hand within Serbia. Serbia is humiliated but retains its sovereignty. Russia feels it has protected its Slavic brethren. Germany boasts of having stared down the Entente. The newspapers proclaim peace in our time. The armies stand down. The soldiers return to their farms and factories. The Great War never happens. And so, the world slides into a new, unrecognizable future. The first casualty of this new timeline is revolution. In our history, the First World War bled the Russian Empire dry. The staggering losses, the failure of command, and the economic collapse allowed Vladimir Lenin and his Bolsheviks to seize power in 1917. But in this timeline, the Romanov dynasty survives. Tsar Nicholas II, having won the diplomatic crisis of 1914, sees his popularity surge. The pressures for reform remain, but without the crucible of total war, they manifest as slow, painful political struggles, not armed revolution. Russia continues its path of heavy industrialization, but it remains a backward, autocratic, and deeply troubled empire. Lenin dies in exile in Switzerland, a forgotten radical pamphleteer. Leon Trotsky is a minor literary critic in Kiev. A young, brutal Georgian named Iosif Dugashvili, whom we would know as Stalin, remains a low-level political operative, never rising from obscurity. The other great empires also survive. The Austro-Hungarian Empire does not shatter in 1918. When Franz Joseph finally dies, Emperor Franz Ferdinand I ascends the throne. He immediately begins his radical project, the United States of Greater Austria, a federalization of the empire, giving autonomy to the Croats, Czechs, and other Slavic groups. This does not solve the ethnic tensions, but it diffuses them. The empire becomes a chaotic, decentralized but stable entity, a sort assis of European Union held together by a single crown. The Ottoman Empire, the sick man of Europe, is not carved up by the victorious British and French. Without the war, it never allies with Germany. It stumbles on, losing territory bit by bit in the Balkans and the Middle East, but it never suffers the final fatal blow of 1918. The modern map of the Middle East, the borders of Iraq, Syria, and Jordan, drawn by Sykes and Picot, is never created. In Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm II reigns into the 1930s, the master of the most powerful industrial and scientific state in Europe. Without the humiliation of the Treaty of Versailles, without the catastrophic reparations and the hyperinflation, the soil for extremism is never fertilized. In a damp, cold Munich boarding house, a young, failed Austrian artist named Adolf Hitler tries to sell his watercolors. He attends rallies of tiny fringe political parties, ranting about Jews and communists. But in a prosperous, proud, and stable imperial Germany, nobody listens. He is a pathetic figure, a crank, destined to be a footnote in a Bavarian police blotter. The Nazi Party is never born. The Holocaust, the defining horror of our 20th century, never happens. The 6 million are never murdered. This new world is a world of kings and emperors. It is a world without the lost generation. The millions of men who died in the mud of Passchendaele and Verdun instead live full lives. They marry, they have children, they build cities. The poets Siegfried Sassoon and Wilfred Owen write about nature, not about poison gas. The cultural shift of the 1920s, the desperate hedonism of the Jazz Age, is replaced by a more confident, perhaps more arrogant, imperial age. Technology, too, follows a different path. War is the father of invention. Without the urgent need of the Great War, progress slows. Aviation remains a curiosity for longer. The great dogfights over the trenches never happen, so the development of fighter aircraft is delayed by decades. Commercial air travel is a distant dream. The tank is never invented. Warfare remains a game of infantry and, shockingly to our eyes, cavalry. Medicine, deprived of the battlefield laboratories of triage and trauma, advances more slowly. The mass production of penicillin, the development of blood banks, all are delayed. And what of the United States? In our timeline, the war transformed America from a debtor nation into the world's creditor. It marked the arrival of the American century. In this world, America remains isolationist. President Woodrow Wilson serves 2 quiet terms, focused entirely on domestic policy. The United States is a large, wealthy regional power, but it is not the arbiter of global destiny. The world's center of gravity remains firmly in Europe, in Berlin, London, and Vienna. This alternate reality, this world of surviving empires, seems almost idyllic. A world without Lenin, without Hitler, without the Holocaust, without the Somme. A world where tens of millions were spared. But this peace is a brittle one. For the problems of 1914 were not solved. They were merely postponed. We jump forward to 1940. In our world, this was the year of the Blitzkrieg, the fall of France, and the Battle of Britain. In this world, 1940 is the year the War of Imperial Succession begins. The fuse is lit, not in Poland, but in the decaying Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans finally collapse, and the oil fields of the Middle East are up for grabs. A newly aggressive Imperial Germany, seeking the place in the sun it always coveted, moves to secure the territory. A nervous Russian Empire, seeking to control the Black Sea, mobilizes against them. The Habsburg Federation, allied with Germany, declares war on Russia. France, seeing its chance to finally reclaim Alsace-Lorraine from a distracted Germany, allies with Russia. Britain, desperate to protect its trade routes to India and its access to Persian oil, declares war on the German-Austrian alliance. The Great War has finally come, 26 years late. But this war is fundamentally different. It is a war fought by emperors, not ideologues. It is a war of territory, not annihilation. And it is fought with different weapons. There are no blitzkriegs, no tank divisions racing across France. Instead, massive armies of infantry and cavalry clash in battles that look more like the Napoleonic Wars than World War II. The primary weapon is the machine gun and artillery. The casualties are immense, but the stalemate of trench warfare, which in our world defined the Western Front, is never fully established, as the tactics to defeat it, the tank, and the tactics to enforce it, mass air power, do not exist. The most profound difference, however, is scientific. In our timeline, the race to build the atomic bomb was a direct result of the war against Nazi Germany, a race against Albert Einstein's fear that Heisenberg would build one first. In this timeline, Einstein is still a professor in Berlin. Without the impetus of a world-ending ideological struggle, And without the massive government funding that characterized the Manhattan Project, theoretical physics remains just that, theoretical. Nuclear fission is discovered, but it is a laboratory curiosity. No one thinks to weaponize it. The War of Imperial Succession grinds on for 5 years. It is a bloody, horrific, and ultimately inconclusive conflict. Millions die. But it is not a total war. Cities are not firebombed from the air. There are no gas chambers. There is no nuclear shadow. The war ends in 1945, not with a mushroom cloud, but with a negotiated peace born of pure exhaustion. Borders are redrawn. Germany gains influence in the Middle East. Russia gains parts of eastern Anatolia. France is repulsed. The empires, battered and indebted, survive. We are now in a world that is unrecognizable. It is a world where women, who in our timeline gained suffrage due to their vital role in the war industry, are still fighting for the right to vote. It is a world where the great colonial empires of Britain and France have not dissolved. The independence movements in India, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, are brutally suppressed, lacking the ideological support of a post-war America or the Soviet Union. It is a stagnant world. A world without the United Nations. A world without the State of Israel. A world where the technological and social revolutions of our 20th century were stillborn. We look back at that moment, on that corner in Sarajevo. 2 bullets that were never fired. They saved the Archduke. They saved the old empires. They saved tens of millions of lives from the horrors of Verdun, Auschwitz, and Stalingrad. But in doing so, they also doomed the world to a perpetual 19th century. They traded the agony of rapid, violent change for the slow, suffocating peace of stagnation. Which world is better? The one of brutal progress, or the one of peaceful obsolescence? It shows us that history is not an inevitable march toward the future we know. It is a delicate, fragile structure built upon a foundation of infinite, unchosen possibilities. The world we inhabit, the reality we take for granted, is not the only one that could have been. It is merely the one that survived the crossfire on a hot June day on a small bridge in Sarajevo. But this is just one possibility. What do you think would have happened if the Great War was averted? Let your own theory be known in the comments. If you enjoy exploring the infinite realities of what if, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Because history is never truly finished.